Hi, this is Anna Imagination. Okay, my full name is Anna Sunshine Imagination. So this is Anna Sunshine Imagination. Yes, I've earned my middle name now. Yes, I love earning names. I am Anna Sunshine Imagination. And if you are new to my channel, deep breath in. I am a philosopher, psychologist, and sociologist of 30 years. And oh my God, I'm just having a phenomenal day. I'm in the process. I need to slow down. I need to go. I'm going way too fast. Logic. Discipulus. Discipulus. Listen. Socratic method. Discipulus. Socratic method. Oh my God, you beautiful fucking geniuses. Wow. This is how Alexandria was operated. Alexandria had mastered education, which means if you go to Alexandria, you know how to learn. You also know how to teach. So when you first entered the library, the University of Alexandria, I need to break this down for you. The University of Alexandria was the heart of Alexandria. Oh, but wait, there's more. Inside of this university was the Library of Alexandria. But wait, there's more. And then there was the Serapeum. Now, it wasn't just the university. It was the whole city. We're not done yet. There's more. At its entrance was a beacon, a lighthouse of Pharos. The lighthouse of Pharos is the lighthouse of Alexandria. It was the beacon that summoned the entire ancient world to education and light. Alexandria was the Garden of Eden. And within the garden, there were two trees, understanding and the tree of remembering. The two subjects that were taught at the University of Alexandria were the subjects of understanding and the subject of remembering. This is the God code, and I'm giving it to you. To go into the Library of the Library of Alexandria, there was one rule, only one requirement. Anyone could attend for free. One requirement. Let no man who has not studied geometry enter these walls. Now, I thought, because of one perspective, and everybody thought, that this meant it doesn't really matter what you do or what you've studied, so long as you've studied geometry. Then you can enter these walls. Oh no. They learn different because they figured it out. When we enter kindergarten or grade school, all of the subjects, 7 subjects, are taught. Boom, 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 boom. 90 minutes here, 90 minutes there, 90 minutes there, 90 minutes there, or 45 minutes. And we learn a little bit of it every single time. And then we escalate up the 12 again. See how that works? The 12 spectrums from grade kindergarten all the way up to all the way up to the senior year. Grade 12. We messed it up. No. We tried to copy Rome, but we got it wrong. Our education system was based on Roman's education system, on Alexandria, but we guessed it wrong. It wasn't the 12 grades. The first years, the kindergartners, had to study just theater, nothing else. The first graders had to study reading, plays, literatures, story. And the second graders had to study pottery and music. And then they studied mathematics. And then they studied physics. And then they studied geometry. Now you're ready for Alexandria. Inside the walls of Alexandria, there were a plethora of topics. There was astronomy and astrology. There was chemistry, biology, physics, mathematics, and philosophy, and theater, stage, art, music, dance, poetry. Literally, they had like 5 classes for poetry. When it was all done and said, I looked at Alexandria University and I went, why does the epicenter of knowledge and education of the ancient world value art more than science? Why? In the meantime, 1980s, 1990s, we were cutting art programs left and right. That was around the time that I was studying this. That was exactly when I was studying it. So I'm looking at this information while the news is blaring that they're cutting art, while Mr. Holland's opus is being released in theaters, which I watched, which I loved. And here I am looking at Alexandria right at that same time going, we're cutting it. But the geniuses of the world who cranked out Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, and Alexander the Great, and Christ, he also went here. I'm looking at it going, what the fuck? Why would they value art more than science? What is so important about art? I couldn't get off of that. That became one of my massive theses while I was doing all of this research. I didn't ask questions because Discipulus. When you step into Alexandria, you assumed the role of Discipulus. This is the same word that eventually became disciple, because Christ was a philosopher. And one who follows a philosopher is Discipulus. Discipuli, if there are many. And yes, that word translates later to disciple. Christ was a philosopher. Not just any philosopher, because I've studied the same subject, because I went to the same school as Christ. So I'm telling you, his teachings is the God code taught at Alexandria, my alma mater. So when you enter Alexandria, after you reach your full rounded of geometry, you spend 1 year learning a different subject, a subject that we don't teach, a subject that we have forgotten. And that subject is the subject of how to learn. How to learn. Rule number 1, you use the Socratic method. You only ask questions. That was commanded. Oh my God, we've done the opposite. How the fuck could we have messed this up? We've done the opposite. The rule number one in Alexandria was a child, a discipulus, must ask questions. So they would teach them the Socratic method. It's the very first thing you learn when you enter philosophy. But we forgot why. We forgot why. This is why. Because the subject, the primary subject taught in Alexandria was not philosophy. It was learning. You are learning the subject of learning. They broke down precisely how to learn. And I figured it out. And I did it on myself. And I went, oh, this is the God code. It's just learning how to learn. So rule number one, you keep your mouth shut. Only ask questions. Rule number two, listen. No talking unless you're asking a question. Open mind. Question everything and open your mind. Those are the 3 rules of learning at the University of Alexandria. Always ask questions. Listen to learn. Open mind. We hear about listening to respond, and we hear about listen to, I don't know what we call it. Listen to hear, listen to learn. That's what listening is. We're learning. We're supposed to be, but we forgot how to teach learning because the Romans burned down all of Alexandria, because they wanted to hide the God code, because they embedded the God code into the Christian story on purpose, using narcissism. I will be breaking that down later to show you how they did it. Once you complete the first year of Socratic method, listen to learn, and open mind, you have unlocked the primary code to open up your mind to start receiving. And so begins the venture into philosophy. I studied every branch of philosophy. Existentialism was my favorite. I wanted to know who God was. I wanted to prove it. Those were my missions. I was such a devout Christian that I believed when I go into philosophy and I study philosophy, that I would come out of it with the proof of God. And I was so determined and so certain of this. I was certain because I'm a logician, because I knew that's where the answer would be, which is exactly what I found when I did this. By the way, I'm goddess of manifestation. So when I walked into philosophy and I wanted the questions who God is and to prove it, within 6 months, I completely lost all faith of religion. 6 months later, I declared myself an atheist and said, I'm done. Nope. But I kept studying philosophy. Now, I started to read Socrates, and he asked the questions, who are we? Where are we? Where are we going? And why are we here? 4 questions. 4 questions. Who are we? Where are we going? Why are we here? How did we get there? The answers are the philosopher's compass. So I proceeded to go through philosophy. And They changed the subject. Okay, I'm just going to be blunt with you. They changed the subject. They got to this one particular place, and everyone changed the subject. They threw away Socrates' questions, and then they went off on tangents. And the whole damn thing became a tangent. And here I am going, wait a minute. We didn't answer Socrates' question, guys. This became my new obsession. So I just kept studying philosophy because I'm like, all right. They went off on these tangents. Trust the process. So I kept following Plato. I followed Plato. And this is where Plato took me. I went down the field of psychology. Carl Jung brought me there. I did not study psychology from books. I did not pick up one psychology textbook. That's my truth. Really process this. Not one modern day textbook. I used philosophy to logically deduce everything I know about psychology. The second course that you study in philosophy, after you learn the story of Socratic method and that process, is logical formal argument and debate. Logic. I excel at logic. It is what I am. Before anything else, I am a logician. The abuser that I had at this particular time had taken to raping me on purpose whenever I was illogical. It was his way of punishing me for being illogical. 5 years of that. When it was done, my PTSD trigger was illogic and irrational behavior. This is my ultimate PTSD trigger. And I can't shake it. And I don't want to. I became a walking lie detector. And I kept reading. And I kept studying. And I kept following Plato's hands. So the psychology that I'm able to spout out left and right is just pure logical deductive reasoning. And I have been told I'm a psychological genius by people with 4 doctorates degree in psychology. So yeah, I studied psychology. After studying psychology, I studied physics again. I returned to theater. I studied story. And I studied a subject I never even thought I existed. Perspective. When you follow the logical pathway of psychology through philosophy, it walks you through an entirely different door than whatever it is they're using out there. I saw how the parent is the core to all of this, and how the words child and adult are opposites, but there is actually no opposite for a parent. That we plugged in child, and that's incorrect because we're oneists, because we can't help but look at children and think. Christ was 12. Remember? Come on, pull out your Bibles. 12 years old. Where did his mother find him? Where was Christ when he was 12 years old? I can tell you where. He was at the University of Alexandria. Those people he was talking to, those priests, they weren't priests. They were philosophers. He was talking to the philosophers at the University of Alexandria that day, and he was 12 years old. And he had those philosophers' interest, and that is where he went for the next 30 years. His mother was shopping in Alexandria. So yeah, Christ went to school there. The point is, he was 12. Stop calling children children. Stop calling them children. It just means unripened, physical, mature adult. Stop calling children children. Stop abusing the children. They are so much smarter than you know. They have the God code inside of them as they are born. Every one of us does. Abuse destroys the God code. That's all it is. Abuse takes it away. Stop abusing the children, which is why Christ loved the children so much, because he knew. He was trying to protect their God code before the adults abused them. Stop abusing the children. Have the children ask questions. Remember? They went to him and he said, don't you let those children come to me. Why would you exclude children? Because adults were abusing children. You abuse them when you neglect them. You abuse them when you reject them. You abuse them when you send them away and say, this is the adults' table. How dare we? How dare all of us? How dare we not treat our children better? And you want to know what's wrong with the world? We treat our children like shit. That's what's wrong with the world. So yeah, Christ called the children to him. After you learn logical and formal argument and debate, the subjects continue. After psychology comes physics. After physics, geometry and math. I don't know why, but there's an algebra there that has to come. Trigonometry. There it is. Advanced mathematics. That's when you need to go back to math. And then after mathematics, it's going to be chemistry. Chemistry is next. And then astronomy. And then after astronomy is astrology. You're supposed to have astrology last. That unlocks the God code. That's it. You have to study the subjects in order. Now, as you do this, you're going to go through the 12 stages of growth, the 12 perspectives, which is why Christ had 12 disciples, one for each, because he was of the omniscient perspective, because he unlocked the God code. He was just a dimension walker. The problem is, as you go through the perspectives, you forget them. You can only keep or hold about 2 perspectives at a time. I'm in perspective 11. I can see perspective 10. I don't remember perspective 7, 8, and 9. I have to go back on my notes and I have to look it up. I cannot remember them, which is why when you get to be about 4th perspective, you can't remember what it's like to be 1st perspective or 2nd, because you've lost perspective. You have a perspective gap. I have been trying to articulate this to you for a year. This is everything I saw in May of 2022. And I couldn't speak about any of it. I couldn't explain it. Because we require communication skills, which we should have as children when we ask questions. We're supposed to ask questions. And the more we ask questions, the more we get X amount of clocked talking hours in, and then we elevate to the next level. But we have to have a certain amount of clocked talking hours in. But at 2 years old, we're told that children should be seen and not heard. We are abused for interrupting. We are sent away. So we're not getting the clocked talking hours in. And that is what stunted our growth. That's it. We stunt our growth as a society, as a nation as a whole, when we tell our children to be quiet. Stop abusing the children. Allow the children their voice. Give the children their voice. I and voice of the voiceless. Let the children talk. The universe is really unhappy about that, and so am I. Let the children talk. And be prepared to hear all of their truths. Yes. Yes. Let the children talk. And then you brace for your truth. If ever I give commands, this is the one I give. Let the children talk. Because I know things. Let the children talk. And you absorb all of your shame. They will show you who you really are. Picture of Dorian Gray. Our children are our portraits. Dorian Gray. Look in the mirror of reality and to have your children talk. Listen to the children, and they will tell you your truths. It's time to wake up. When I say to you, I know how to get to fucking world peace, I mean it. How much more evidence do you need? I know how to get us to world peace. And it starts with letting the children talk. The second stage is you getting your shit together and accepting your truth.